I've pre-cut this wing panel. We're going to lay in the bevels using an iron instead of a knife for the leading edge and for the trailing edge. I folded over the leading edge so we've exposed our leading edge surfaces, and we're going to go ahead and use a hot iron, an iron that's at maximum temperature, and we're just going to slide it along this edge and create this bevel right along here. We'll do this in multiple passes. I'm holding the camera while I'm doing this, so I only have one hand free. So we'll simply start, bring it down. See, we started to create that taper, but it is a small section at a time. You don't want to do too much in one pass. If the foam gets too hot, it'll start to buckle the paper. We don't want that, so we want to take it slow and easy. I'm going to slide this down. I'm using this block of wood as my reference material. There we go. We're starting to get a nice, clean, even taper. Yes, we've pulled it down out here on this leading edge at the tip completely. I've got to pull this down further. Slide this down. Bring down the iron. There we go. Now that's pulled down all the way. Oh. I had to reposition my wing so that I could gain access to this surface area. Coming down this leading edge section. She jumped on me, so I got to move it over. I need to move my weight that's holding the wing in place. There we go. Oops. All right, let's move it there. I'm going to have to set my camera down for a moment while I finish this section. Okay, I've finished ironing down this side of my leading edge. I've got a nice 45-degree taper all the way down. Very smooth. Let's see if we can get a focus on this edge so you can see it. Very sharp. Okay, now we'll flip it over and we'll do the other side. Same technique. Simply slide the iron along that surface and we'll get her laid down at its 45. Okay, we have finished the 45 on this side as well. And we can check this by simply holding these two panels up like this and looking down that edge, and we can see that we've got a nice sharp 45-degree edge going down the entire line. That's going to create a beautiful interior angle for the leading edge. The trailing edge is going to be a much shallower beveled edge, about a 12-degree angle, and in order to accommodate a clean, smooth trailing edge, we're going to add this wood dowel temporarily, just held it in place, so that we can run the iron along this edge using the dowel as a reference plane to drive down the edge as we bring the iron down. So I've got my iron hot, and I can start, set the iron down, and just bring it across. Just like this. We can do a small section or we can do the entire wing. Now you'll notice that you've created the bevel. It started right along here. You can see the edge from the shadow. Now at the moment we're only about a half an inch in, and we're nowhere near fully collapsed on the trailing edge yet. So we will simply go back and re-iron over and over again, bringing down that edge. And it's resting on that wood block down below, which acts as my reference to make sure that I get a nice straight edge. See, we're starting to pull in. Notice that the paper is starting to buckle a little bit, and that's because I've been staying with the iron a little too long. I'll need to speed up the move so that we don't create too much gas from the foam as it's melting. So I'm just going to move a little bit faster. There, now that's much better. We're getting a much smaller wrinkle in the paper. The other beauty of using the iron like this, we're heating that foam up and we're creating a stronger bond with the paper. So what we end up with is a much more robust wing than we would if we simply left the paper with the original binding between the foam and the paper. We're getting there. We're getting very, very close now. What we want. Trailing edge is now 1/8 of an inch, perhaps 3 millimeters right now. We want to pull that down even further. And we're going to bring her on down. I'm going to move that cord out of the way. Bring the cord on this side. Looking very, very sharp. A little bit more. Still coming down. Trying to control this cord a little better. I'm actually angling the iron a little bit above the wood dowel. I could have moved that wood dowel a little further back because I am well in on the foam at this point, and I really don't want to be that far into the paper. All right, let's see what we've got here. All right, we're down to perhaps 2 millimeters on thickness, and we want to bring her down to about 1 millimeter. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish this off. Increase the angle of my iron along that surface a little bit. Now we've got that down to 1 millimeter in that area. This area needs to be brought down just a little bit more. Good. Okay, that's definitely down. Okay, so we've got the trailing edge completed on the top wing surface. Now we've got to turn our wing around and get to the bottom wing section, and we're going to want that one laid down as well along, not quite as deep. So I'll go ahead and move my wood dowel over so that I can use that as my reference. And I'll set that up and we'll begin ironing in a moment. Okay, I've mounted the dowel on the front section of this wings panel. This is the lower wing panel. And I'll go ahead and start the taper on the trailing edge on this as well. Just sliding the iron right along. And there's our first bevel section. You can see we've got, this section is a little deeper than the rest so far, so it'll move a little faster in this section. Slow down a little bit in here and just drag the iron across. Here we go. We can see the bevel developing nicely here. Come back. A few more passes. It's certainly easier with the iron than it is with a knife edge, and because the paper stays on and becomes bound to the foam, we end up with a very rigid trailing edge, which is perfect for structural integrity. I love this technique. Okay, our wing center section's a little bit higher than the rest, so we'll just simply go back over that section first. Okay, we pulled that one down further. We're getting very, very close to our 1 millimeter thickness. Pull this section down now. There, we're beautiful, right along that 1 millimeter or less. Pull this area down here a little bit further. I'm going to move this over. My line has come off with the sandpaper. Oops. I'm going to have to. All right, we can see the bevels on the trailing edge, on the lower wing section, on the leading edge, and on the upper wing section. You'll notice that the foam has curved in towards the heat shrink surfaces, and that's perfectly okay, because once we fold this over and complete the construction, those two concave surfaces will butt up against one another and create a very clean straight edge, which is exactly what we want. Now, I removed the paper from the inside foam area in here. That makes for a much easier fold. I don't have to crease or pre-form because the paper won't be there to interfere and buckle up. I do not remove the paper from the area that has been tapered. That adds a lot of rigidity and strength to the structure, so I don't need to remove it. I only need to remove it where it was not ironed. So I'll make some pre-cuts in the foam so that the paper is separated, and then just peel it back. I've removed the paper in the flat sections where there were no ironing taking place so that I can form the wing. I've also pre-bent this wing section so that it will fold over nicely, and I'm ready to begin the final process of gluing these trailing edges together and folding the wing over. I'll go ahead and add a spar. In this case it will be some bamboo skewers, because it doesn't take much for this small wing. This is only a 22-inch long wing. So that'll complete the structural integrity, and I'll take some more pictures. I've attached the bamboo skewers for the spar, and I'll go ahead and glue it up. I can either use hot melt glue, which I typically use on wing structures, or I can use a foam glue. I found this to be the best foam glue for this type of foam. It's Styrogoo. Originally I purchased this at a craft store locally. I haven't been able to find it in the last year at any stores, so I purchased it by the case online. Really works much better than any of the other foam glues that I've found. It does take time to cure, typically an hour to 3 hours, in order to get a strong enough bond to allow you to continue to work. So it's a slower build when you're using this, but it is much cleaner. To complete this build, I've chosen to go ahead and use hot melt glue, and you can see, if we can get a focus here. Come on, focus here, boy, there we go. You can see just how clean and sharp we've got that edge, and how nice and straight both our leading and trailing edges are. Get this situated so you can see this. It's just a beautiful, beautiful build technique. Hope you enjoyed the video.